Hi, we just got the news that former President Jimmy Carter, James Earl Carter, died. The news was given to us December 29th, 2024. He has been living in a hospice for over a year. Hospices are only supposed to be used for the last 6 months of your life, but he spent a long time in the hospice, and he passed of just old age. I mean, he has looked out of it for a long time. He was diagnosed with melanoma at one time, but he did not seem to die of that. They said it had gone to his liver, but he lived a long time after that melanoma diagnosis, so that doesn't seem to be really what caused him to die. He is preceded in death by his wife, Rosalynn Carter. He was a very religious man. He was the first president who, after serving as president, went out and actually worked. He would spend a lot of time working with Habitat for Humanity, building homes for the underprivileged. Excuse me. So, I now have a tickle in my throat, and I'm just going to play this because my throat is bothering me.
On the family farming business. It was there that Carter developed an interest in politics. He was elected state senator in 1962 and governor of Georgia in 1970.
I am a candidate for president.
When he announced plans to run for president in 1974, Carter was largely an unknown, but he managed to win his party's nomination and edge out incumbent President Gerald Ford by just 2% of the popular vote, one of the closest margins in recent history. President Carter's greatest triumph came in 1978, when he brokered marathon diplomatic talks between Israel's Menachem Begin and Anwar Sadat of Egypt. The resulting Camp David Accords ended years of fighting between the two countries.
We've got to stop crying and start
Assassinated.
sweating. Stop talking and start
Later.
walking. Stop cursing and start praying.
The late 70s were a time of oil shortages, high unemployment, and double-digit inflation. Carter worked diligently to solve these problems, but the economy slipped into a recession. Then an event that would dominate the remainder of Carter's presidency. Iranian militants captured and held 52 American embassy employees hostage in Tehran. Unable to negotiate their release, Carter ordered a rescue mission, which ended in disaster. 8 American servicemen died when their helicopters collided in the Iranian desert.
Americans in Iran were mistreated.
In 1980, voters rejected Carter's bid for a second term. And to add insult to injury, on the day he left office, the American hostages in Tehran were released to the new Reagan administration. Carter returned to Georgia and through his nonprofit Carter Center remained active in efforts to promote peace around the world. His efforts were successful, and he gained more respect after he left office than while he was in it, despite countless controversial statements in recent years, including calls for the U.S. to legitimize the terror group Hamas, which is openly committed to the destruction of Israel. He helped convince Haitian military dictator Raúl Cedras to relinquish control of the island nation to elected leader Jean-Bertrand Aristide. He monitored elections in Nicaragua and helped end a standoff over inspection of nuclear facilities between the U.S. and North Korea. Carter was often seen with hammer in hand, building homes for the poor as part of his continuing support for the Habitat for Humanity project. He wrote countless books, including one book of poetry and a memoir. In May 2002, Carter took his first but not last trip to Cuba, the first American president to visit in more than 40 years. He called for the U.S. to end its trade embargo while challenging Fidel Castro to institute democratic reforms. Later that year, the former president won the Nobel Peace Prize for, quote, his decades of untiring effort to find peaceful solutions to international conflicts. During a trip to the Middle East in the summer of 2009, an alleged assassination plot by an al-Qaeda-linked group was uncovered, though the president's aides said they had no knowledge of the plot against him. In the summer of 2010, Carter traveled to North Korea, successfully securing the release of an American citizen who had been sentenced to 8 years of hard labor after allegedly entering the country illegally. Upon his return, Carter advocated the need for a comprehensive peace treaty with the isolated country, arguing Pyongyang was ready to talk and that the U.S. should come to the table. Carter didn't hesitate to criticize the only other living president to be awarded the Nobel Peace Prize, denouncing President Obama